Number 1. The ducking stool. The ducking stool was a punishment used mainly in medieval Europe, where the accused was strapped to a chair, attached to a long beam, and repeatedly lowered into water. The goal was public humiliation and physical exhaustion rather than execution. The repeated dunking caused panic choking and extreme discomfort, and in some cases accidental drowning if the person was submerged too long or lost consciousness. Number 2. The Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden was a metal cabinet shaped like a standing human with spikes lining the interior. The spikes were positioned to avoid vital organs so the victim would not die immediately. When the doors were closed, the spikes pierced the body, causing bleeding, pain, and infection while keeping the victim alive for a prolonged period. Number 3. Breaking on the cross. Breaking on the cross involved tying the victim to a cross-shaped frame or wheel while executioners shattered the arms and legs using clubs or iron bars. The broken limbs prevented movement, and the victim was left exposed to die slowly from shock dehydration or internal injuries, sometimes over several days. Number 4. Pressing. Pressing was a punishment where the victim was laid on the ground and heavy stones or weights were placed on their chest. Gradually over time, the pressure restricted breathing and crushed internal organs. The process continued until the person confessed or died, and in some cases lasted for hours or even days. Number 5. The Scottish boot. The Scottish boot was a torture device made of wood or iron that enclosed the lower leg. Wedges or screws were driven into the device, slowly crushing the bones and flesh. The pressure caused severe fractures, nerve damage, and intense pain, and was commonly used during interrogations to extract information. Number 6. The pillory. The pillory was a public punishment where the victim's head and hands were locked into a wooden frame mounted on a post. The person was left standing for hours or days, exposed to crowds who could shout, insult, throw objects, or physically attack them. The punishment relied on humiliation, exhaustion, and public violence rather than official execution. Number 7. The stocks. The stocks restrained a person's ankles and sometimes wrists inside a wooden frame, forcing them to sit or lie in an uncomfortable position. For long periods, the immobility caused pain, swelling, and circulation problems, while public exposure allowed harassment, abuse, and weather conditions to worsen the suffering. Number 8. The scold's bridle. The scold's bridle was an iron cage placed over the head with a metal plate that pressed down on the tongue. It prevented speaking and caused pain, swelling, and bleeding. It was used mainly for public shaming and control, leaving the victim paraded through streets in silence. Number 9. Hanging in chains. Hanging in chains was a post-execution punishment where the corpse was placed inside an iron cage and displayed publicly. The body was left exposed to rot, weather, and animals. The goal was deterrence, using the sight and decay of the body to warn others rather than punish the dead. Number 10. Branding. Branding was a punishment where a heated iron was pressed against the skin to leave a permanent mark. The burn destroyed tissue instantly, causing extreme pain and long-lasting scars. The mark served as a public identifier of crime, ensuring the punishment continued socially even after the physical wound healed. Number 11. Manacles. Suspension. Manacles suspension involved binding the victim's wrists, often behind the back, and suspending them off the ground. The body weight pulled downward, causing intense shoulder pain, joint dislocation, and nerve damage. Prolonged suspension restricted circulation and breathing, sometimes resulting in permanent injury or death. Number 12. The knee splitter. The knee splitter was a metal device placed around the legs with screws that were tightened gradually, the increasing pressure crushing bone and tissue, destroying the knee joints. The damage was irreversible and left the victim unable to walk, even if they survived the punishment. Number 13. The whipping post. The whipping post was a public punishment where the victim was tied upright and whipped repeatedly with lashes or rods. The strikes tore, skin caused bleeding and intense pain. The public setting added humiliation and fear, while infections from open wounds were common afterward. Number 14. Exile banishment. Exile banishment removed a person from their community and territory. Often permanently, the punished individual lost protection resources and social ties. Survival depended entirely on their ability to endure isolation, exposure, and hunger, making the punishment potentially fatal without direct violence. Number 15. The wooden horse. The wooden horse was a punishment where the victim was forced to sit astride a sharp wooden beam shaped like a ridge or roof. Weights were often attached to the ankles to increase pressure. The full body weight pressed down onto the narrow edge, causing intense pain. Tearing skin and damaging muscles. Prolonged exposure could lead to nerve damage, loss of mobility, or internal injuries without necessarily causing immediate death. Number 16. The collar of shame. The collar of shame was a heavy iron ring locked around the neck, sometimes fitted with spikes or protrusions. It severely limited head movement and caused constant discomfort. The weight strained the neck, shoulders, and spine and made sleeping nearly impossible. Victims were often displayed publicly wearing the collar, ensuring ongoing humiliation, pain, and long-term physical damage. Number 17. Forced labor. Chains, forced labor chains, were used to punish prisoners by binding them together with iron shackles and forcing them to work continuously. The chains restricted movement, caused sores and infections, and made balance difficult. The constant strain led to exhaustion, malnutrition, and injury. The punishment extended over months or years, turning daily survival into a prolonged sentence of physical suffering. Number 18. Civil death. Civil death was a legal punishment where a person lost all civil rights while remaining alive. They could not own property, testify in court, inherit wealth, or maintain legal identity socially. They were treated as if they no longer existed. This isolation removed protection and opportunity, often leading to poverty, exploitation, and early death without direct physical violence. Number 19. Ear cropping. Ear cropping involved partially or fully cutting off the ears as a form of punishment. The act caused severe pain, bleeding, and risk of infection beyond the physical injury. The missing ears served as a permanent mark identifying the person as a criminal. This ensured lifelong stigma and social punishment long after the wound itself had healed. Number 20. The Spanish tickler. The Spanish tickler was a metal claw-like device with sharp curved prongs used during interrogations. It was applied to exposed skin and twisted or pulled, tearing flesh from the body piece by piece. The damage caused extreme pain, heavy bleeding, and a high risk of infection. The goal was not immediate death, but to gradually remove tissue until the victim confessed or lost consciousness. Number 21. The Judas cradle. The Judas cradle was a torture device shaped like a pyramid with a sharp point. The victim was suspended above it using ropes and slowly lowered so their body weight pressed down onto the tip. The pressure caused tearing of tissue and severe internal injuries. The descent could be paused or repeated to prolong suffering and avoid quick death. Number 22. The dunking cage. The dunking cage involved locking a person inside a metal or wooden cage and lowering it into a river or lake. The victim was submerged repeatedly for extended periods, causing panic, choking, and exhaustion. The cold water increased shock and muscle failure, while the threat of drowning remained constant, even if the intention was intimidation rather than execution. 23. Tongue removal. Tongue removal was used as a punishment for blasphemy, dissent, or treason. The tongue was cut out using blades or heated tools, causing massive bleeding pain, and shock survivors were left unable to speak clearly or eat normally beyond the physical injury. The punishment permanently silenced the individual, ensuring lasting control and social exclusion. Number 24. The thumb screw. The thumb screw was a device that slowly crushed the fingers or toes using a screw mechanism. It was mainly used during interrogations to extract confessions or punish minor crimes. The pressure caused intense pain and swelling fractures and sometimes permanent nerve damage. Victims often lost the use of the affected digits. The device could be applied to individual fingers or multiple limbs and was widely used across Europe from the medieval period onward. Number 25. The cat's paw. The cat's paw was a torture device used to pinch, pull, or crush the victim's fingers or toes with metal clamps shaped like a cat's claw. It caused extreme pain, bruising, and tissue damage. The repeated use often led to broken bones and permanent disfigurement. This punishment was applied during interrogations to force confessions while leaving the victim alive, making it a slow, painful, and psychologically tormenting method. If you want to suggest another topic, you can do that in comments. Thanks for watching.